On this episode, Tiffanie Johnson interviews Jules Dewey from 5 Star Senior Living.
Hi, my name is Jules Dewey. I am the Regional Director of Sales and Marketing for 5 Star Senior Living. I cover New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. I started off in senior living 12 years ago. I started off as a med tech and kind of fell into senior living backwards. And as I grew my career in senior living, found that I really loved it and found my calling. And then through that time, did multiple positions within a senior living community. And then 5 Star found me, which is where I started my sales career in senior living. I was a community-based sales director for 4 years, and then was promoted into the regional director role, which is how I found, or Local IQ found me, and the digital marketing relationship began.
My name is Tiffanie Johnson. I'm the Senior Director of Content Operations for Get Creative. That's Gannett and USA Today Network's in-house content studio, working with Local IQ to bring branded content to life for SMBs around the country. I've been in the digital media industry for more than 13 years, and before that, I like to call it my past life, I was a television news producer. So I've been bringing stories to life in different ways throughout my entire career. Jules, thanks for joining me today for this chat. I'm so excited.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, obviously, we're going to be talking about storytelling today in our jobs and in our industries. And I really love talking to you because you have so many great stories and you're a great storyteller in yourself. And I think, that's a good place to start because I really want to talk about your past, your QVC days. And I love that because, as you know, I was a television news producer. And I found in my career that so many things, even though it's taken a pivot, a lot of the core competencies and skills I have today really stem from my days in TV, like the sense of urgency, attention to detail, obviously storytelling. Have you found that same correlation in your career?
Tiffanie, that's a great question. And yes, so in my previous life, I was an on-air product representative on QVC. And QVC really taught us about a backyard fence type of sell, which is really, like a conversation like you and I are having right now, talking about, the features, benefits, the history and the background of a product and how it will benefit someone. And really just having a conversation about, how something can make your life easier. And, that translated well for me into senior living sales. And it really resonates with an individual based upon what their need and what their experience is. So for me, being able to have a conversation that was personal and, telling my story, relating, telling them the influence or the stories that I had from my experience with seniors in my role as a community-based sales director, really resonated with the individual. And because of that, you were able to develop relationships and really kind of meet somebody in their journey. And that really led to my success as a senior living sales director. It's not like you're selling a car or folding sweaters in a retail store. It's a very personal and emotional journey and sale. So, really listening and then talking about the stories and the experiences you have is something that brings trust. So, I completely agree with you.
Well, how did you go from QVC to 5 Star? It doesn't seem like an obvious transition.
Well, we're going to get real personal here, aren't we? Okay.
Let's do it.
So, I am from California, and currently, for the past 19 years, I live on the East Coast in Pennsylvania. So I was actually going through a divorce, and, my whole family lives in California. And it was the holidays, and I just, I was having just an emotional day, and I just really wanted to connect and feel like I had my people or some people that I could connect with, my tribe. And I was driving down the road one day, and I made a left-hand turn into a senior living community. Went in to volunteer. Well, that lasted about 24 hours before they said, we would love if you would even just work here part-time, and we'll get you the training that you need, and we would just love for you to be part of our team. So I said, well, what the heck, of course, it's part-time. I was an on-air guest at QVC. So I started off as a med tech in a senior living community, and on my time away from the community, I would be on air and I'd be waving to my peeps at the senior community. And through over time, I just fell in love with seniors. I connected with older adults. So I did multiple roles within a senior living community. Activities. I worked, hands-on with advanced Alzheimer's and dementia, older adults, and I just spoke that language. So the natural transition into a sales role in the senior living industry was just a natural transition. And once you have the experiences, it just made my journey to sales from, on-air product sales to, something that I loved and felt passionate about, and it just connected with me to being able to have success in assisting families with that. It's a stressful transition. It's an emotional transition. So, it just kind of naturally progressed, like an organic process. And, this is my calling, and this is where I will go right to the Sunshine Club one day.
Mhm. I love that. I mean, you don't get to talk to a lot of people who are like, this is my calling. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm interested to know, so what does a day in the life of Jules look like at 5-Star?
Well, it's different now than it was 4 months ago. Prior to the pandemic, March 1st, my life was very different. I spent a lot of time on the road, traveled a lot to communities, spent a lot of time, working through the sales process with sales team members, coaching them on, how to connect and do a really thorough and personal discovery with the adult children, who are mainly the influencers. I was on the road a lot. Things have changed. I had to pivot pretty quickly when I think it was March 15th it will go down in infamy. My days now look a lot different. I'm working remotely like most of us are. And, I support 19 communities, senior living communities. Each one of them are different. They all have their own different, culture or personality. And really, I work with those communities to identify what their strengths and weaknesses are, where their opportunities lie, and what are a threat to their success. And we work through those components to generate leads, qualified leads. We work towards identifying, the right individual that is, the target consumer for those communities. And I support 19 of those communities on a daily basis. I will say that one of the things that changed in my role, that I do more than some other regional directors, is I spend a lot of time focused on the marketing aspect with my communities as well. The digital marketing component, is such a important piece of your marketing portfolio, that I really have spent a lot of time educating myself in, the different strategies, and what's going to work, and what is going to touch the consumer while they're in their journey. So that's something that I do spend a lot of time on now, which is how you and I came to meet.
Yeah. So I want to read something to you. I was going through some of the content that you guys have worked with us on. Um, it says you can turn on the news or visit social media about you can't turn on the news or visit social media without hearing about the growing concern around COVID-19. While life continues as normal for most Americans, vulnerable populations should take extra care to stay healthy and avoid putting themselves at unnecessary risk. So when I was looking at this, I was like, oh my goodness, this was March 12th. This was so early on. This story was called Important Information That Seniors Should Know About the Coronavirus. And it tripped me out because it was like March 12th, like I'm pretty sure that was might have been like my first day working from home. My son was still physically going into school. And Five Star was really providing informative content on seniors in the pandemic before we even really knew like the whole road that was ahead of us. Tell me about like how you guys really pivoted so quickly. And like I was saying, like in my mind, I was like, wait, that was so early on. Now looking at the timeline and how things have progressed since then.
Wow, that was March 12th.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
I knew it was early, but I think I definitely have COVID time distortion.
No, me too. I was like, wait.
No, right. You're like, wait, was that a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Like, just kind of all like blending together. The senior living industry really, has been a huge topic and a focus throughout this pandemic. And early on, I was hearing, conversations about the coronavirus. I think a lot of individuals wanted to believe that it was just going to be like the flu, and it was just going to pass through and it was going to be over shortly. Maybe call it gut instinct. I'm not sure, but I really felt like this was a topic that we needed to have a conversation about soon. And it wasn't something that we should wait to have a conversation about, especially hearing that, the older adults, the seniors, that population was the most vulnerable. And, at the end of the day, I may be in sales and marketing, but our goal is to safely care for the older adult population who has trusted us to care for them, and their loved ones who have trusted us to care for these older adults. And it was a conversation I was having with the team, with your branded content team. And I'm very, very involved in the brainstorming and collaboration with determining which branded content topics we're going to be using each month, and that can change depending on what's going on in our world. But at that time, we were talking over, we had some topics that we had decided we were going to use, and we were, I said, okay, so we're going to do this one and this one. And then we said, and I forget what the actual topic was. And I said, I just feel like we really need something that's going to be different and that's going to resonate with our consumer right now. And I said, I think we should talk about the coronavirus. This is before it was even called a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said, we would love to, but at that time, I don't think that any other senior living companies were truly like talking about the COVID-19 and seniors. I think there was a fear to have a discussion about, what the risks were going to be, or what, the stressors that were going to come into our communities. And in my opinion, transparency is key to trust. And if you don't have the trust from your consumer and the individuals who are reaching out for help, then you don't have anything. Like trust and transparency is key to getting through things like this. So we made the decision, and your team did a fantastic job writing a branded content piece about just everything from what families needed to know, the risks that specifically like risks that the seniors might have in different diagnoses, family members, and their activities outside of the senior living community and how that could affect the senior as well. And that branded content article, it performed off the charts.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up the team too. So for our local IQ branded content programs, our clients get a dedicated program manager and a content strategist that work in partnership with them. You work with Stephanie Kelly and Abby Koff on our team, and you guys have really developed a strong relationship. And like you said, that trust is so important. Tell me about how that's really played a role in this partnership.
Well, first of all, let me start off by saying Abby and Stephanie, I've never met them in person. I consider them friends now, and collaborators. I sent an email to them both today, and I started off the email with, "Hey team." So they're part of my team and I'm part of theirs. It really is, it's a marriage in so many ways, but it's a very communicative and collaborative marriage. I feel that the relationship we have built, and the responsiveness that I have received from the team, has been, the Local IQ team, has been, it has actually played a huge role in the success of our branded content campaign. We strategized together. Abby and Stephanie, neither of them came from the senior living world. And in the beginning, we were kind of doing like the whole trial by error thing. We're going, okay, well, let's try this topic and let's try this topic. And they never came back to me and tried to convince me that a branded content article that did not perform well, performed well. We really had open and honest dialogue about what was working and wasn't working. Because of that open, transparent communication between us, we were able to then take what worked and really, take that and pivot that conversation and the verbiage to continue to connect with our consumer. And that's a huge part of having a successful branded content campaign, is being involved. And Stephanie and Abby were so open to suggestions and to brainstorming and getting excited. And we would spend so much time just, doing research online, and it was fun. Like, we had a great time. We still have a great time doing it. But being able to have that responsiveness and that relationship has played a huge part in how we've been able to pivot quickly throughout this unprecedented time in our industry. We were able to, we might have planned certain topics for a month or even for a couple months in advance. And we quickly learned that we might need to change those in a moment's notice based upon what was going on in our industry. And they were on board, responsive, and that it's played a huge role. I mean, the trust between the three of us it's a beautiful dance, as I said before.
I love that. So it's one thing to have the story told, but it's also, especially now, in this pandemic, important to have your voice in the story. How important has that been for you to have your own voice told through the stories, and on a trusted platform? Because we keep going back to like trust and transparency. How important is that for you?
Well, I don't think there is anybody that isn't fully aware of the media's coverage of nursing homes, long-term care communities, the senior living industry. Having a voice in the narrative, has played a crucial part in how we've been able to to be able to communicate the differences between what is happening in our communities, and what is happening across the country, and really being able to have a voice in telling our story. The media likes, there's a lot of sensationalism, and we all know that what happened, it changes overnight at times, and the media will focus on another topic, or like now it's all about mask wearing. But having a voice in telling who we are, what we do, and what we were doing to protect the older adults that were living in our community was crucial. We were able to discuss, the different infection control, safety precautions that we were taking. We think about it, 19 communities, one's right outside of, I have two that are right outside of Manhattan. And every day you have individuals who are showing up. They have their own families. They every day they are coming in and putting themselves in harm's way at times, just to make sure that they are caring for these older adults. Being able to have a voice and a voice in that narrative, I really truly feel has allowed the communities to be able to seamlessly transition into the road of recovery from the pandemic. Telling the stories of family members who are so thankful for all that we were doing to protect their loved one. Talking about the caregiver stress for the family members who were at home caring for their older adults in a setting where they were now working remotely as well. And, identifying and relating to the stresses that they were encountering, and letting them know that our communities were safe. 5-star senior living acted fast, but being able to have that, to communicate that on a platform that such as USA Today, Local IQ, really helped our communities to have a voice in the whole pandemic.
Yeah, it's so important. And like the human interest element is really important in the stories you guys have been telling. And you guys are running in multiple markets. So we've also learned that it's not like a one size fit all, right? Like, tell us about like how localizing your stories has played a role in the strategy.
So the one thing that I have learned, and if I were to give anybody advice on developing a branded content strategy, at least anyone who covers multiple demographics, it isn't one size fits all. Working in 4 states, what works in one state, like for instance, Delaware, it's different than what's going to work in New York or New Jersey. And even in New Jersey, you're looking at, you've got Northern New Jersey, you have Central New Jersey, you have Southern New Jersey, and those markets are also very different. So knowing your demographic and tailoring your messaging to that demographic is truly one of the most important aspects of a branded content campaign.
So, when we're developing stories in partnership with clients, we try to make sure we work around the framework of making sure the stories are informing, engaging, and connecting. But I feel like 5-star, and particularly over the last few months, the connecting part there's really been a strong like engagement and connection with the audience. Why do you think your audience is, I guess, connecting emotionally to this content so well?
Well, when I think it's been a little over 2 years now that I've been working with Local IQ. And, we started out with topics and honestly, we were kind of going safe. in the beginning, and we're testing the waters. And through, I think the first, if I'm correct, the first branded content article topic that literally performed off the charts, like blew it out of the water, was a piece on caregiver stress.
Mm.
And this is pre-pandemic. And, our topics for, our branded content topics were performing well, but this one blew it out of the water. And like, wow, so this is what's resonating with our consumer, our, the influencer, the adult child. They want to feel like somebody understands what they're experiencing. And because of that, we started talking about, well, so now we know which topics resonate. We also learned which ones didn't. And based upon that, we were then able to really tailor our communication and our content to meet the journey of our consumer, meet them in their journey. And we had this conversation one time, Stephanie, Abby, and myself. I said, we already know what topics we should be talking about, because it's the same topics that lead, the working daughter to come into one of our communities and say, I need your help. We're overcoming these obstacles every day and assisting family members in the overcoming of, issues that they're dealing with at home with their older adults. And it was proven through our branded content. So we started to tailor those conversations, and we tailored it to what was going on at that time. What was going, whether it might be the holidays and talking about loneliness in seniors, senior loneliness. That was another branded content article that really resonated with our consumer, because it's true. I mean, family members are so worried about, their older adults, and are they lonely, and are they at home and nobody's coming to visit, and the guilt that comes along with the adult child working and not being able to, be there as much as they would like to be. So as these content pieces started performing, just mind-blowing numbers from what I understand. I'd learned that part, but we just started tailoring our conversations around those types of topics. And because of that, we've been able to meet our customer in their journey. I would say that the typical consumer, once that instance, that thing has happened, that problem, something has happened that's led them to start looking for a product. They're not just going to go right to your website and say, all right, I'm going to buy this right now. I mean, we're educated these days. We spend a lot of time doing research on, our options. And, I use the example of, holidays were coming around, and, I was like, man, I'm eating a little bit too much. I want a gym membership. I want to start working out, but I want it to be on my certain time frame. So, what do? I sat down and I probably did 10 internet searches, looking for different options, and, then going, so maybe I need an exercise product at home so that I can tailor my workouts around my time frame and what I need. And that led me to finally say, okay, I'm going to buy this certain product and, this home exercise equipment. And after doing this research, then I went to the website and decided to buy. It's the same thing in the healthcare industry, in the senior living industry. Something occurred with their loved one or that older adult that has led them to say, okay, it's time for me to start looking at options, and for either safety, for socialization. There's a need. So there's at least, I would say, our consumer does research or Googles a topic at least 6 times minimum before they're even going to go to your website to see what you have to offer. So for me, when I was looking for exercise equipment, what did I search? You know, I'm searching, you know, gyms near me. I'm searching, then I'm going, oh, we're looking at different products. They're looking at the same things. It's just tailored to an older adult issues, like how to talk to mom about not driving. You know, mom's not taking her medications. Early signs of Alzheimer's and dementia, things like that. So if they're searching for information, or they're searching for information that's going to resonate with how they feel and what they're experiencing, if you can meet them in that journey, you can not only connect with them, you can start building that relationship early on. And that is what the branded content portion of my digital campaign with your company has done for my communities. Ironically, you know, my region has 40% more internet leads than some other regions within the company. And when you look at how we are getting those internet leads, it's coming directly from, because we are meeting them in their journey.
It's really interesting. Awesome. So, wow, 40%. That's it.
I know, I'm like, do we want to say that?
No, that's great. But one of my questions is too, like, you know, we talked about the success of your campaigns, but has your definition of success or expectations or standards for your results changed in any way during this time?
Yes, you know, and well, you know, it's been really exciting to be involved in the branded content strategy, and then seeing the performance increase, and you get really excited. I know Tiffanie and Abby and I have often said, God, it's just so hard to, you just want to keep outperforming the last one. And now, at this point in time, we really don't have a branded content piece that isn't performing well. I mean, for an industry standard, we know it's, you just want when you know that you're connecting, with the individuals that you've committed to helping. Like I said, this is my calling. This is what I do. We need a Rosetta Stone for senior living, for older adults. You know, when you and it's evidence-based, it's data-driven. So knowing that you are connecting with the person that you have committed to assisting through this emotional and stressful transition, that feels great. Like it's one of my favorite parts of what I do, to know that I'm reaching the person when they are in that moment of, okay, I need help. I need to start looking into, you know, what are my options? What's, you know, when you meet that person in, you know, and are able to help that individual when they're at one of the scariest times in their lives, you know, that feels great. So yeah, my expectation has changed. I have to keep my expectations realistic at times, but you know, I'm always striving to do better. And so is Abby, and so is Tiffanie, so is the local IQ team. We're all on the same page. Like, we don't ever want to just like say, okay, we'll just go with this. It's not ever an option for us. And, you know, my expectation, as I continue to add different markets within my regions, as I add a digital branded content marketing strategy into their communities, I'm looking for the performance out of the gate, and we have. That's the cool part as well, Tiffanie. So we started off with just with a cluster in Delaware. That's where we started off our digital marketing campaign with Look Like You. And once we had, we really had got, we were on a stride. Our stride was just going like this. So, our branded content was just performing. We were able to take what we learned from the original campaign in Delaware into the other markets. And we didn't have that time where we were like doing, had the trial and error. We were able to perform out of the gates, which to me was just, it was exciting.
So I love the way, and it's an interesting way to think about results when it comes to branded content, because it really is about the connection and the conversation. So for you, that's really the signal when you see those engagement numbers that this is a two-way conversation. Not only have I told the story and presented this information, but the engagement numbers are the signal for you that, it's two-way. They're reading the content, they're engaging. And so I think that is really exciting. I'm like, wow, it was like an aha moment for me.
Yeah.
Like that's the signal. So, and you want to keep that conversation going, right? You don't want to like pick up the phone and no one's like listening. So those are the signals. So as the results continue to show that is really exciting.
It is, and to be part of that and to be part of the brainstorming and the collaboration in that success, it is exciting. And the one thing I really do love about the campaign that I have with Local IQ is the branded content lives on the media page that's specific to the market. We also own all the real estate on that branded content page, whether it be on social media, whether it be through the email blast, whatever it may be. So we own all the real estate, and all of our branded content articles live on that page as well. So when the consumer, when they get to your article, all of your other branded content articles and the topics, they're right there. They stay with you. They stay with your messaging, and they're getting they're getting everything they need right from the landing page where your branded content is. So if you can keep your consumer there, the likelihood of them then clicking on one of the links within your branded content or one of the display ads that runs on the side and going directly to your website is much stronger than if you weren't working with a digital strategist that understood that piece. So I feel, and the results are showing, that though branded content is really, is meant for brand awareness, yes, it's true. But it's also a piece that will drive leads. It will drive leads to your websites or to your, to pick up the phone and call you even, because it's all right that you own all that real estate. So because we own all the real estate in that page and it's all interactive, and we have the display ads running along with it within the branded content landing page, that display ad is active. So we have a call to action that when they click on that call to action, it takes them directly to our community's website and prompts them to schedule a tour. So instead of them then going back and doing a search and trying to remember what your community's name is, what was that place, and then going to, doing an internet search and ending up with a third-party referral service, or ending up with one of your competitors, because the layman doesn't necessarily know what they're clicking on at times when they're going to search. Because we have been able to tell a story that resonates with our consumer and keep them within what our our information and our education pieces, they're not leaving the site. They're staying there because the next article, like, oh, I need to read this one. I'm going through this as well. And, it's resonating with our consumer, and it leads them to directly go to our websites. And that's proven by the analytics. And, it's also very interesting to me to look at the time that, our targeted demographic is spending on the articles. I mean, a minute and 90 seconds. If you and I sat here right now and didn't say a word for 90 seconds, it would feel like an eternity. 10 seconds feels like an eternity. When you read a branded content piece or an article that you find on social media, how long do you spend on the article? So looking at how long that they're spending, that the scroll depth that they're reading through in the branded content, the time that they're spending, that's been real. That's another success and a key component to what I consider to be successful branded content.
So I think we talked a lot about how we've had to pivot during this time, and definitely on your end for our business as well. Are there any lessons that you're actually really excited or thankful to have learned now that they'll change your approach to your business and your marketing moving forward or forever?
I think the one thing that I have learned through these crazy times is to not be afraid of having what could be considered difficult conversations, because it's a conversation, isn't it? Early on discussing COVID and seniors, that could for some, they might have considered that to be, risky or scary. I think that what I have learned is to go fearlessly into some of these conversations. And, that is what the consumer wants to hear about, and being able to have a voice in that and be able to control some of that narrative. I think that is something that I will continue to do.
I love that. And, I was just sitting here thinking, if I look back through, I guess, my life or my career, there have been times where I really had challenges and I really had to dig deep, make tough decisions, and evolve. I guess as we were talking about today, pivoting, but through those times when I make it to the other side, those are really the moments that I'm most proud of. And it's too early to say we haven't made it to the other side of the pandemic yet, but I already feel like that, I guess, that real connection to this moment and how, like you said, the conversations we're having with our clients and the relationships we're building. I'm really proud of what we've done. So I guess I'll ask you, or over the last few months or even over your career, what are you most proud of?
I think that this time is going to be it's going to be that moment. It was a crazy day. I'll never forget the day when it felt like the world stopped. And, we aren't through it. We aren't. And we're going to have to continue to pivot. And things are going to, as we're saying now, things are going to change. And I've learned how resilient one can be in a time where you're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And being able to support a team and support them and keep them motivated, and being able to support the families and the older adults that we were able to keep safe during this time. I think this will definitely be one of those moments in my life where I will look back and say, we survived a pandemic. I mean, and we came through it. And yeah, I could definitely get emotional about thinking about, I mean, I'm humbled, to be honest with you. I am humbled by the level of commitment of the team members that are in our communities, humbled. I haven't been able to see a lot of them face to face, but I've, when I started having the Zoom calls and I was able to see them on camera, I didn't even realize how emotional that was going to feel, to see these individuals who they committed to being there and never wavered, and that was humbling.
Thank you, Jules, so much for being on the show with me.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.